We're fighting.
8:30 Wednesday.
We're fighting. Guys, we're already fighting.
Let's do this.
Already fighting. Can you believe it?
I think I'm going to win.
I think so too.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome back to the Local Bizcast. You guys probably know I am Dr. Pete. This is the Local Bizcast, and I have been sitting here hanging out with my new best friend over here, although we are going to fight.
Yep, but as best friends do.
That's true. Very true. Dr. Carol Chu Peralta.
That's right.
I'm doing pretty good at this.
You are killing it.
From the Center for Resiliency.
That's right. Right here in Montvale. I'm around the corner from you.
Local as local gets, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
By the way, she's a pro too. She's going to teach me how to do all these podcasts. I'm actually excited to hear.
I don't know about that, but we are going to have fun.
I do ask a lot of my guests to co-host every once in a while. But one of these days, somebody's going to take me up on this. This is a three microphone podcast room, and I'm still waiting for the next one. Of course, you have all the time in the world, as we very much talked about.
All the time. Yes, I'm not a mom. I'm not a sister. I'm not a wife. Not at all.
I got it all right over here.
Yeah. But you know what? Moms always make time. Moms always find ways to make time.
How?
Because for us, believe it or not, there aren't 24 hours in the day. Magically, we've been blessed with about like 72 hours in a day.
I can absolutely believe it because, my wife, Kelly, who you haven't met yet, but you absolutely will. You guys we will be best friends. Our kids are like the same age. We'll be hanging out. We'll fight in the backyard, that type of thing.
Yes.
And she'll just like, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? And I'm like, I'm in the middle of this.
You're
I'm
like, yeah, you could probably do another thing in the middle of that.
I don't understand how you guys get it all done. And you do it well.
Thank you.
Pretty incredible.
We pretty much have to. There's kind of no other option.
All right, that's it. That's the podcast for today. We'll see you next time.
Good luck, guys.
I'm just kidding. I have to do my business, of course. The gurus always tell me, we want this thing to grow and grow like crazy. We want to help all of our local business people, all of our local entrepreneurs and influencers. So please go to Local Bizcast on YouTube Live and Spotify, soon to be Apple Podcasts, and everywhere you're going to find your podcasts you can possibly be. And hit like and subscribe so that we can grow this channel and bring it to more people.
Yes.
All right, I'm done with the business.
Okay, fair.
No, I'm done with my business.
Let's move on.
You know what people want to hear?
I don't.
I do.
What?
They want to hear about your business.
Do they?
They absolutely do. That's why they're here, sitting here, tuning in. You're going to be blasting.
They're waiting at the edge of their seats. They're waiting at the edge of their seats.
You have a very, very cool story. I like a lot of diverse background too.
Totally. All full of diversity. I'm full of diversity. My family's full of diversity. The business is full of diversity.
Yeah.
There's something very beautiful, and there's something very, I think, always entertaining about it. There's always something to look forward to.
I love it.
Which is like the biggest buffer against depression. So why not?
And who would know better than you, of course.
Why not? Why not embrace it? Yeah.
Amazing.
So I am a psychologist, and I own Center for Resiliency in Montvale. Like I said, we're around the corner. We're a group practice, and there's a few providers there. We do everything. We treat the entire age spectrum, really, from as teeny tiny as 4 all the way through the wise age of 100.
Go ahead. Who's your older?
Right?
Do you have 100?
We don't have 100. Our oldest has probably been in their 80s.
God.
Has definitely been in their 80s.
I always said my youngest patient was my children, so they were 1 second old.
Oh.
And my oldest patient was 96. I want to get to 100. Can we
Oh,
find a
hold on.
centurion that I
Yes.
can treat, please, so I can... What is this ego?
Can we do this a challenge? Can we make this a challenge?
I would love
Who's
to.
the first one to get the 100-year-old?
Ooh, you heard it here first. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my
Come to
favorite
me.
thing.
I can help you.
This is my first challenge on the podcast. I'm loving this. Are you kidding? We're gonna go. We're gonna go with 100.
Okay, fine. Listen,
Deal.
I'll buy you the Kleenex.
There we go. Oh God, she's claiming victory already. And then she thinks I'm gonna cry, so she knows me all so well. But oh my goodness, this is amazing. So you go from all the way young to all the way old.
All the way old. So we really started off with specializing in trauma, and to this day, we really still specialize in trauma. So think about anybody who's been through domestic violence, sexual abuse, bullying, people trying to leave cults, really the full spectrum of trauma. That's really what we specialize in. So all of our providers have been trained in evidence-based treatments for trauma. So really what that means, because it sounds quite boring, right? Evidence-based treatment.
I really don't think so, but maybe they do. I don't know. I don't know if you can see my jaws like on the ground. I'm like, I can listen to you forever. It's great.
What that means is that we look at the research and we make sure that the research is really valued in terms of guiding how we are treating you. So we're making sure that we're using something that's been proven to be effective while also bringing in our expertise, while also bringing in your expertise of you as the patient. So we're combining all three variables to try to make the most effective treatment for you possible so that you're not in therapy for your entire life, but you're actually seeing movement in therapy. So that's what we really specialize in. And we are also dually trained in depression, anxiety, more of your like generalist diagnoses. Now, that's like a big crux of what we do. The other part of what we do also are neuropsychological evaluations and immigration evaluations. So think about people who have been thinking or questioning, like, do I have ADHD? Do I have autism? I'm really struggling with the trauma that I've endured in this country or that I've endured outside of this country. How can, what diagnoses or what symptoms have I developed from that? Can I have answers to that? So we're trying to answer those questions as well. So it really is like a wide gamut of treatment.
I'm in absolute awe. Incredible. I mean, of course, I got to see a little bit of your bio, see your diverse background. Yo trato hablar en español cada día. Usualmente los pacientes se rean.
Hiciste muy buen trabajo.
Sí, I try. Yo trato. Yeah, but the Spanish. So tell me a little bit about your background. Where are you from? You've got a little bit of a. You're a little bit of a mutt. Like I'm a little bit of a mutt.
Just a little bit.
All
just
right.
a little bit. So my mom is actually from Colombia. And my father's from Peru and his father's from China. So we have that beautiful mix in our household. So growing up, so both of my parents migrated here to the US, not, being monolingual Spanish speaking. And by the time that my sister and I arrived, it was still very much so monolingual Spanish speaking household.
Mm-hmm.
So we grew up speaking Spanish and also learning English through the schools.
Where was this, by the way? Are you?
So we started off in Passaic. I'm not sure if anybody really is familiar with that area.
I think people know Passaic around here. Yeah, I think so.
Different than Montvale. I will put it that way. And then we moved into Clifton. So we kind of moved up a little bit. Still very different from Montvale, I will say. And that's really where we were for the majority of our life. We were in Clifton, New Jersey, and we've been New Jerseyans our whole lives, really. And it's been, it's interesting because I think we were exposed in Clifton. There's a huge diversity of population. I mean, you will meet people from literally all around the world, which is something so beautiful and to be appreciated really now in retrospect. And with that being said, I think the majority of people there were actually minorities.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time that I got to studying my doctorate, I was definitely the minority in my class. And I think I was exposed to, I think it was like a little bit of a culture shock, I will say, because for as diverse of a background that I got to grow up with, I didn't necessarily grow up with the majority of the culture that was present in my graduate class. So that was a little bit of a culture shock, but also life lesson and everything that I still incorporate to this day when it comes to, when I hang out with my patients and I try to figure out what's best for them and how to best help them. So it's been a beautiful ride. I really can't complain.
It's like I'm almost listening to myself. Like being in Clifton and growing up in Clifton with such a diverse, culture and a diverse population, I should say.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of like racism and sexism? Like, was there a lot of that, or was it more accepting because it was incredibly diverse?
You would think that it was the latter, but it definitely was not the latter. I think, not without throwing any groups under the bus, I think there was just a lot of diversity, competition amongst the diversity. There were a lot of gangs really that would infiltrate, at the end of the day,
like
that would
real
come
gangs?
that would come
like
to
Crips and Bloods and,
absolutely.
Jets and Sharks. Like when you're a Jet, no?
Yes.
Okay.
1,000%.
Wow. In Clifton.
Yeah, in Clifton.
Because I grew up in Spring Valley right over here. Which is also and was also in the 80s, because I'm old. You can see by my receding hairline.
Both, my friend.
We were born in the 1900s.
Yeah.
Have you heard this one?
Yes, that's exactly when
we were born in the 1900s. Got it. Yeah. So, maybe call me naive, but we were almost, as a white male, I was actually almost a minority in my high school, and I was just so used to hanging out with the Filipino and the Haitian, Jamaican, Black, Puerto Rican, everything. There was everything, and so these were just my different friends.
Yes.
And the culture shock came to me kind of when I went to college, and people like judge people on their color and stuff
Yep.
like that. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, do you have any idea where I just came?
Yes,
I think I was more naive. I'm sure it was there, but I don't know. And that's why I find it interesting, Clifton being such a diverse with minority, that you'd almost think that everybody was more accepting of each other only because they were all in the same boat, but I guess not.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that there weren't. I think there were definitely people, and I think that it's very similar, almost, just generally speaking, to how it is today in the world. You're going to find people who are much more accepting than other people are, and I think that Clifton was very reflective of that. Or when I went to school in Clifton, it might have changed. Who knows? But
because we were born in the 1900s, it's now the 2020s,
a whole century ago.
Yeah.
So
it's really fun. So, I guess that's what they call like people boomers, and they're trying to be like, you were born in the 1900s. It's very offensive, but I think it's very funny.
I'll embrace it.
Listen.
Yeah, okay, fine.
I loved
wisdom comes along with it, I suppose.
I mean, was there a better time in the world to grow up than when we grew up? Are you kidding me?
Do you remember when hip hop was actually hip hop?
Thank you.
I don't know.
Did you carry like a big stereo?
Oh yes, yes.
I can see
my right bicep is so much more developed than
you guys have no idea. I already know when we fight, I'm gonna go to her left side because I can see.
That's my weaker side. That was my non-boombox side.
Yeah. You know what? This is why we have to do everything in post-production, because now this podcast is going to be called the non-boomcast.
The non-developed bicep.
Yeah, right.
No boombox bicep.
The non-boombox. I can't even say it.
It's a little bit of a tongue twister. Non-boombox bicep.
Oh my God. I feel bad. I'm sorry for like kind of usurping it and going into your diverse background.
No.
I think it's so freaking interesting.
It's absolutely beautiful. And my husband, so our children are even more diverse than we are.
Let's go.
My husband is Dominican, and also his mom, yes, is part Spaniard and part.
You're gonna say Irish, aren't you?
Eastern. No, okay. Middle Eastern. I know. The most, part Middle Eastern. So our children are very diverse. Very diverse.
Amazing.
So it's pretty.
And you speak Spanish to them, and everything like that. Yeah?
We try so hard, my husband and I, to only speak Spanish in the house.
Oh, really?
Only speak Spanish in the house. And so because of that, I would love to think that our children have profited from that, and they speak Spanish and they read in Spanish and they even write in Spanish. It's very beautiful to see them develop that skill.
Absolutely.
And I hope that they continue to practice it, but
and I can tell you this, having an office in West New York and Jersey City for 21 years and speaking Spanish, and now I haven't been there in a year, and I've lost it.
Yeah.
I've lost it.
I believe it.
No, I didn't grow up. Hopefully, if they grow up and speaking Spanish from they kind of really imprint it into their brains.
Yeah.
But if you don't use it, you lose it. It's so true. It's true in my profession, and I'm sure it's probably true in yours.
1,000%. If you don't use it, you lose it. Absolutely. Those neural connections just go bye-bye.
Yep.
And they kind of just disintegrate.
Unbelievable. So tell me how a girl from Clifton, diverse background, gets into psychology.
The funny story is that I didn't originally go with a psychology major. I went with what I thought was the easiest major for me, which was Spanish, because
oh my God, you went with the cop-out?
I totally went with it.
So the woman I am seeing here does not look like the woman that's choosing Spanish.
And I definitely was that person.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're a party animal, weren't you? Where'd you go to school? Sorry, what's your husband's name?
Adele.
Sorry, Adele, man. We're gonna
check
this out over here.
He's my high school sweetheart. He knows
exactly
what
all right. So then
what I was like. Please, I'm the one who was dragging him to the club.
You were the bad influence.
1,000%.
Oh my
Bless
God.
his heart.
Perhaps maybe we don't put this one on the podcast. This is going to be one of our backyard conversations over here. We'll see what happes.
No way. He knows me
knows
it all.
All right.
He knows me in and out.
So where did you take
I went
Spanish?
to William Patterson.
WP, got it. All right.
William Patterson. I kept everything very local because I come from a very Latino family, and they're like, well, there's no need for you to leave the house.
No, we're going to cook dinner for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course I was like, that sounds great.
Yes.
Why not? Free meal every day. So I went to William Patterson and I declared Spanish as my major. And shortly into the first semester, I had become good friends with someone there. And she had said to me, do you want to go with me? I have to go and declare my major. And I was like, oh, what's your major going to be? And she's like, psychology. And on a whim, I was like, that sounds great. Let me go ahead and change my major. And I changed it that day with her because, I don't know, I was bored of the Spanish major. And that's how that happened. And then I actually started to like it.
I'm speechless.
I know.
I don't know. Wait, you just changed your major because she changed her major. This is your friend. You did this. And this became your life. And I'm looking at you.
And I love it now. Obviously. I hope so. Yeah,
I can see the passion.
Absolutely, 1,000%. 1,000%. I mean, I think that there was definitely like this innate interest in human development and the brain development and human interactions. I don't think that there was anything that necessarily had like triggered that curiosity that
Right.
perhaps was already there, and it just, things just kind of like by serendipity ended up happening the way that they did.
Life.
She said it, I was bored in Spanish, and then thankfully I just ended up falling into the right track.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's just such a cool story. I
Yeah,
can't even believe it.
I
Because
know.
it's not something like, I just do this. And then a year later, like, this sucks. Let me go do
No,
this. Like,
thank goodness it worked out.
Yeah.
And that's something to also think about. I don't know how young our listeners are, but for those who might be young adults who are sort of thinking about like, oh my gosh, I need to have my major figured out by the time that I apply to college, or I need to have my entire career figured out by the time that I apply to college. You absolutely do not. I'm not saying to, swing your pendulum in the other direction either and be completely listless and not driven. But what I am saying is that you don't have to have your 10-year plan figured out by the time that you are 16 either.
You absolutely
give yourself
don't.
some grace. You haven't even been exposed to enough to know what you like or what you don't like.
I think they say most entrepreneurs are like they're 45 years old when they first start thinking about the business that makes them what you guys know is famous and popular and everything like that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it at 16.
You absolutely
And you could do something at 16. You could do something else at 18. You could do something else at 30.
Yes, your interests are allowed to change. They're allowed to change. Who you are at your core, meaning, what your static traits are as a person, will continuously remain there, and that's what's going to continue to drive you in whatever direction you go, but your interests are allowed to change.
Absolutely. And you evolve. And yeah, absolutely. You had something very cool in here because it's something that you said you focused on, especially with kids, like what you're grown in with. What was it that you were talking about?
Oh, generational patterns.
Generational patterns is what you called it.
Yes. So I think that this is something that's applicable to everyone, right? So if we think about, there is generational patterns, I think is something that was really adopted from a larger term called intergenerational transmission of trauma, which is cool.
By the way, this is your Spanish major girl talking all these big words over here, right?
English words, right? So it's a huge, a huge mouthful concept. But essentially what that means is that there was this lovely researcher, Dr. Frank Putnam, who had followed 3 generations of women. And what he noticed is that the first generation, so let's say like grandma, mom, and child. So grandma had experienced trauma because of either sexual abuse, domestic violence, coming back from war, etc. And that generation had unhealed trauma because they never received any type of treatment or really any acknowledgement that they had developed any type of trauma responses. And so because of that, they then went on and they had their own children, aka the second generation. And what they discovered is that unhealed trauma then transmitted onto the second generation via genetics and also via environment. So through their parenting as well. And then that second generation, unfortunately, also went through their own trauma and were more predisposed to it.
And added it to the first trauma.
Exactly. And then they passed it on down to the third generation. So all of that to say, there are certain patterns that we start to create and inherit from generation to generation that influence the way that we manage our money, the way that we get along with people, the way that we communicate, the way that we think about ourselves. And so we just need to, we perhaps would really benefit from becoming much more mindful about what are some things that I've inherited from my previous generation without placing any blame on them because they are a product of
it just is what it is.
Of their own upbringing, right? And really thinking about whether or not those patterns align with your own current values and the life that you really want to live. And if it doesn't, then great. That's like the first step towards change because you're recognizing, wait a minute, this doesn't really align with me. And then trying to figure out, well, what are my other options? Because there are other options. We just sometimes don't realize that.
Oh my God. You're a wordsmith.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. So I recently just heard, and when I say recently, probably within the last couple of months, about this genetic pass down of trauma. And I just think, how is that possible? I get the environmental thing, right? So this, say grandma had trauma or whatever like that. And I understand as a result of that trauma, she has a certain behavior. And because she's raising her children with that behavior environmentally, fine, you're going to have predisposition. And of course you can then pass that down to your child. But genetically, there is some scientific proof stating that things in the brain have changed and DNA and chromosomes will have changed as a result of this trauma. And you then pass these I guess you would call it predispositions and stuff like that. So it's not just environmental.
No.
There is genetic change as a result of trauma. Science.
Absolutely. The science backs it up. And also the science also demonstrates, though, that even though there are these genetic changes, there can still be changes that you can make biologically
Right.
to correct those trauma responses or to really repair those trauma responses that you've developed. So it's not like doomsday.
Right.
Just because my previous generation had this unhealed trauma and I've now inherited it, right? Like my nervous system is always on hyper alert,
Yeah.
or I'm
Sympathetic.
always,
You're always sympathetic heavy, right?
Yes, right. It doesn't mean that it always needs to be that way.
Well, you can imagine, right? That negative trauma that created a negative change, you could do positive things. Well,
Yes.
let's call them quote unquote, right? Because in my world, the body does exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yes.
The body doesn't make mistakes.
Yes.
So if you had some kind of negative trauma, war or abuse or something like that, your body needs to put this protection mechanism in there
Yes.
because it's protecting you.
Yep.
So we can't say it did something wrong.
Right.
So that's the. Oh my
I'm with you 1,000%. And the body has the natural inclination towards healing,
Yeah.
right? Which is, now kind of shifting into this larger umbrella idea of anxiety where, trauma really does fall under that umbrella. When we have anxiety, a lot of times, like when you think about somebody who's describing having a panic attack, they'll oftentimes say like, I couldn't even catch my breath. I felt like I was about to have a heart attack. And all of that is true. However, oftentimes what will happen whenever we're having anxiety, because the body has this natural inclination towards trying to heal itself, we will oftentimes interfere with that healing process in that moment by continuing to default into the snowball negative thoughts. And that's just going to perpetuate that heightened anxiety
Yes.
level that we're at. So it's something to also think about, like how much am I kind of getting in the way of letting my body do its job?
Are you going to give the listeners a trick right now to get out of a panic attack and an anxiety attack? Are there tricks? Like just like let it go, dive in deep, go ahead and like stop breathing or something like that? I don't think you want to do that.
It can be something as simple, in all honesty. Even I get it.
You know what? This is why I need to do post-production, because right now I'm going to put like a light on. I'm going to flash out everything, and you're going to give us this beautiful tip. Go ahead. What do we have?
So it could even be something as simple as you co-regulating yourself. So you're in the middle of a panic attack, right? You feel like as if you're having a heart attack. I completely understand all of that, and I'm not dismissing any of it. However, if you can manage to at least just bring your hand to your heart and just let yourself try to regulate your breathing. You are just breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. And you do that a couple of times, noticing that the pace of your heart rhythm is going to slow down. That's your body taking care of itself. When you start to allow yourself to bring your focus and your attention to you being in control of your breathing and your heart, your body doing the job that it's supposed to be doing, there's like a switch that can go off for you to recognize, oh, wait a minute, I am in control.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of that panic is coming from control. So if we could flip the switch and bring ourselves back
more
to
control.
Yes.
That makes so much sense. We talk about box. Yeah.
Grounding. There's 1,000 techniques that you can
but
try.
Don't give too much away.
Yeah.
Come on. We're here to build a business, of course, over here. So
I know I can't give it all away. We'll be here for hours. Days.
I'm in. I mean, listen, this is my free session, guys. It's amazing. All right. I mean, all this stuff, all this science, it brings us to the Center for Resiliency.
Yes.
Where did this come about? How was this born?
So it was very similarly kind of born in the same way that
some
my
person
major was born.
Some person said, I'm gonna go open up a business. I'm gonna go open up my business. That's great.
A little bit like that in
right,
the sense that I was working for a nonprofit trauma clinic for about 10 years. And very similarly to a lot of people's stories, during the pandemic, I'm working from home, as most of us were at some point. And I'm recognizing, oh my gosh, I'm missing out so much time on with my children. By the time that I'm scheduled to go and return back to work, the truth is that I'm never going to make it to drop off. I'm never going to make it to pick up. I'm never going to make it to homework. These poor kids are going to eat way too late at night, or I'm going to miss dinner.
And they're going to speak English. Not in this house.
Speak English. What? That was actually the main reason.
Obviously.
I was like,
I knew it right off the bat.
I'm out of here.
You were listing all these things, but I knew that last one.
That was the most important one, for sure. You know me too well.
Oh, that's funny.
So then, that was really it. I was like, by that point, I had already had like this very tiny private practice where I was only seeing maybe like 5 patients a week, just 1 day a week. And my husband had said to me, he's like, why don't you just go full blown private practice? And I said to him, no, that's not really where my desire ever was. But then I really started thinking about it and I was like, wow, hold on. That would give me the luxury of spending time with my children, being a mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let me give it a whirl. So I opened it up full time, and then shortly into it, thankfully, we started receiving so many phone calls for trauma therapy, and I was turning them away because I'm like, I'm so sorry, there's no spots open,
Which
and
just makes
people
you
would
even
call
more
back.
popular, of course.
But it was also during the pandemic. Everybody unfortunately was suffering. That's
Absolutely.
the truth. And
I mean, that's the trauma we were talking
was
about.
like at an
You could
all-time
talk about
high.
war, you know, our baby boomers with the war and everything
No,
like that.
forget
How
it.
about a
The
pandemic?
The pandemic was very, I think, startling for a lot of people. And it's still, I think, is having a lot of residual effects. And so then, long story short, people were calling back. They're like, nobody else is taking this case. Please, can you take the case? And I was like, well, let me think about it. And then Adele, my husband, was like, why don't you hire someone? Why don't you just start a group practice? And that's kind of where it all started.
I'm in awe. That's
it.
Just absolutely an amazing story.
Yeah.
What an amazing path.
Thank you. Yeah.
What did you learn?
What haven't I learned? I have learned that I can run a business, even though there was no formal training with it.
Zero
Training.
Who did I talk about this with? It was one of the bankers that we had on over there. Like, we went to chiropractic school, right? I had at one point 19 offices. Who the hell taught me how to, like, what is the world doing making me responsible for 19 offices, 250 employees, their pay and their health insurance? I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
What happened here? Like, the world did something wrong if I'm responsible for that. But
somehow, and you're doing it successfully, right?
Yeah.
But I think that that's also part of your personality that allows that to even happen. Because if you were a person who was very irresponsible, had no social support to help you get through this, there's no way that you would be that successful. That's the truth.
You don't think it was my like ADD, OCD, perfectionism, all these other diagnoses?
That's part of your personality. That's part of your traits.
I can fix that. Remember, we just talked about this. We can fix this. This is fixable. We can fix anything.
But I don't know that you necessarily want to fix everything, right? I mean,
have you met my wife? She wants you to fix everything. Everything.
Emotions serve a function, right?
Truth.
We don't want your anxiety to be at a level 10 because it's paralyzing. We also don't want it to be at a level 0 because then there's no motivation to do anything. You're not productive. We kind of want it to hover around like a 2 or 3, just enough to get you to study for that test, but not so much where you're paralyzed and you blank out and you can't take the test. So
another new name for the podcast: hover at a 2 or a 3. It's amazing.
Got named.
Oh my God, this one went so quick. We have 2 minutes left.
Okay.
So promote the Center for Resiliency. Oh God, I mean, people are going to hear this and you're going to get more phone calls. And I hope there's other providers out there that can help you because you are incredible.
Thank you.
And you're just so eloquent with the way you speak, and it's just easy to understand. I mean, really, I can feel it. I hope everybody out there can feel it as well.
I hope so, guys.
Tell me who is. Well, you already said, pretty much from 0 to 99 because I'm going to beat you to
100.
I will beat her. The
challenge
is on. I'm looking for a 100-year-old patient, musculoskeletal, emotional. You know what I'm saying? They have both. We need both. It's unbelievable. But tell us a little bit.
We could share the patient too. It would be a tie. I would.
Well, hold on. I would have to adjust them at the same time they're talking to you. So we'll see what happens.
You never know.
We never know.
Collaborate. Let's say you're hesitant and you're not really sold yet on coming to therapy or getting an eval, or maybe you've never even thought about mental health, let's say, even from like a preventative perspective, and you're just curious about it. I would say just follow us on social media. You will get free, honest mental health information on there. And so you can follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, at Center for Resiliency NJ. But if you are ready to take the leap and you want to give us a call or you want to email us and you're ready to schedule an appointment or you're ready to schedule a free consult call, by all means, go for it. We're at info@centerforresiliency.com. Or you could call us at 201-661-3375, or you could go to our website, centerforresiliency.com.
Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Carol Chu Peralta.
Thank you, guys.
Unbelievable. An amazing guest.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, thank you for coming here. Which leads me into our next guest coming on Monday night. That's March 31st. March is over. I'm going to have to go to therapy for this. It's crazy.
I know someone you could go to.
Oh, I think I've heard somebody out there. Yeah, very local too. March 31st, that's at 5:30 p.m. And it's going to be Christy Very from Cleanscape Construction. How about that?
I like
Talking
that.
about my diverse
The
background.
spring is coming. So
Heyo.
if you want to do any house projects,
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. March
Listen in.
31st, YouTube Live and Spotify. It's going to be soon to be on Apple Podcasts, and we're going to throw it everywhere.
Awesome.
But also, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking to get onto the local BizCast, are you a local business person, a local influencer, whomever, entrepreneur, anybody who wants to promote their thing, this is what this is here for. You can get to me at either local BizCast or Dr. Pete at shcnj.com, or come into the office. Doesn't matter. We're going to get you over here because we want to help everybody in the area. But once again, thank you so much.
Thank you. This was fun.
I think it was
very
great.
much.
I think we could do 20 more of these.
Let's do it.
Co-host. Here's my co-host.
Perfect.
If you want to sit here, and I'll be
right there in the corner.
I have no ego. I'll sit here in the corner.
I have no ego. I'll be in the corner. You can put baby in the corner.
We all put baby in the corner.
It's all good.
Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful afternoon. Everybody be good. We'll see you on Monday night.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.